The crickets. I can hear the crickets. Maybe that's electronic
All right.
crickets.
We're live.
Live again. Welcome back.
All right. Welcome back. Hey, well, it's good to be with you, John. And we have Misty in the room with us, Misty Moreno. Misty and I connected on LinkedIn recently. It sounds strange, but I've been following you on LinkedIn for a little while. I don't want to sound like a creep, right? But you put out some good information. And that's the reason why I wanted to follow you, then connect with you, and then ask you to come on the show with us. You put out information like project management, human resources stuff. And you also mentioned that you wrote a book real quick. So if you wouldn't mind, just give me a quick intro, Misty, on who you are and what exactly you do.
Yeah, so I'm Misty Moreno. I am a retired senior master sergeant from the Air Force. And so I retired after 20 years in September of 2020, and then went immediately into a Fortune 500 company here in Sumter, South Carolina. So I worked at Continental Tire for 3.5 years as a human resources professional, and I managed projects and I facilitated lean operations. And then in January of 2024, I went full-time with Vets to PM, an organization where we help military veterans achieve meaningful and lucrative post-service careers. And so I always say that I'm a human resources professional with project management expertise. And so that's how I identify myself. But I'm on LinkedIn a lot, really doing what I love to do. And that's just helping develop better human beings who develop better human beings. And my target audience are veterans in order to help them achieve a meaningful and lucrative post-service career.
Hey, that's awesome. Great intro. You did a lot better than I could have done. No, but that's good. And I like I mentioned, I connected with you immediately. At least I reached out when I saw that you were reaching out to the veteran community, and that's when I started following you myself. Because as I personally retired in December of 2023, and I really I needed a roadmap at that point in time. I needed some guidance on exactly how to navigate all that, because it is tough. And I don't think a transition readiness seminar of 5 days can cover an entire 20-year plus career, right? So that's a little tough. And that's why channels like this exist, so we can push out good information. And that's why I believe I reached out to you on LinkedIn as well and started following you. So that's perfect. And you also wrote a book. I had a chance to read the book. It's very entertaining and very good information that you put out. I did enjoy it. What was the name of the book?
Yeah, Get Your Shit Together. So 30-day journal on how to get your shit together. And you start off first identifying what shit you want to get together. So you define it. And it really helps, especially veterans, but it really helps with the comparison theory. I think a lot of people are out there trying to achieve success based on some other definition. And so it helps people identify what success looks like, what financial freedom looks like, what work-life balance looks like, so on and so forth. And so you do that for 30 days. And then the next 30 days is just like a daily devotional with a leadership tip that will help you essentially navigate the chaotic world that we live in today. And I wrote it because people kept commenting that, you are lucky, you have an ideal military transition, and essentially discounting the work that I did. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to write something that will help you, quote unquote, achieve this luck that you think I've achieved. So that's what I did.
Yeah, a lot of good tidbits in there, I think. So just a confession, I read the entire 30 days in about a day. Yeah, in about a day, right? I had some free time, so I figured, let me see what this book is all about. And I did write some notes down, so I appreciate you writing that book and actually assisting me in getting my shit together as well.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial for everybody. I mean, even if it's not my book, but just really identifying your definition of success. I'm always on LinkedIn preaching, take your military 1 year at a time, define what you want your work and your life balance to look like for that year, and then define what success looks like for that year, because 1 year out of the military is going to look very different than like me right now, almost 4 years out of the military. So I'm sure, you're going through sort of your, what I call kind of like the hell week in basic training or whatever it may be. Like sometimes we go through the hell year after we transition because we have no idea what we're doing. And that's normal. And so hopefully, that book or another resource will help you identify what it is you want to achieve your first year, because unlike the military, we actually don't have to know exactly what we want to do and be super good at it. We can just sort of take it one day at a time and navigate what comes at us. And that's what we're really good at. So hopefully it serves as a resource to take some pressure off of some people and not let perfection be the enemy of good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. I completely understand the whole Hell Week thing and the whole Hell Year thing, especially leading up to the end of active service. Cause there's this whole transition period where it's like, am I good enough to find another job? Is anybody want to hire me? Will they want to hire me? Do I have enough education? It's like a black hole that I kind of fell into, and just kind of like this ball of, not depression, but this ball of just thinking, am I good enough for everything? Do I have enough education? Am I ready to actually retire from the military? And now, being on the other side, I completely feel like I made the right decision, that I was up and ready to start that next chapter of my life. I was just doubting myself so much, and it's things like that, like actually getting my stuff together, making sure I have everything in line. And it kind of opens my eyes a little bit to how things were actually going to be on the outside.
Yeah, I would argue that you were probably more prepared than ready, right? So just like having kids or going to college or going to basic training or, changing your station or your base, whatever it is, like, are you actually ever ready? No, but you knew enough to get prepared, right? And so that is my goal as a veteran now, is to help people get prepared. And so instead of, I always preach to leaders out there that are still in the military, the commanders, the section chiefs, whatever it may be, like, don't ask the people that are separating or retiring if they're ready. Instead, facilitate their preparation. And there's lots of different ways that we can do that. So we have to stop striving to be ready, when we separate and retire, and we need to start preparing. And there's lots of things that we can do in order to get to that point.
Oh man, prepared versus ready. I'm going to use that. And that's good.
Yeah.
I'll have to quote you on that.
No problem.
All right. So
that's some of the stuff that we try to do here as well, right? Is try to just get people prepared for the next step in the next journey. And as we were speaking a little bit off camera before we started, like, really, it's not a one-hit wonder success kind of thing, getting out of the military as you did and having just a really smooth glide path. It's really just, there was a lot of time in the background where you were mentally preparing, where you were getting your shit together as far as your paperwork and getting things together as far as all the things that line up. Plus it helps, I guess, that you've got an HR background, so you've got a little bit of a leverage there. But still, I mean, there's a lot of things that don't involve HR that you had to do along the way in order to set yourself up for success. And you didn't just wait there for somebody to come and like throw you a rope and pull you over the mountain,
Absolutely not. I mean, I took action. So, we're in the veterans are supported era right now. So unless you're physically or mentally incapable, which we know that unfortunately some veterans are, but unless you're physically and mentally incapable, there should be no reason why you are not utilizing the resources that everyone before us worked super hard for us to have. So I was in the VA the other day and I heard some young retirees, and I say young, like just retired. And they're like, oh, the retirement checklist is so long. And these veteran appointments are, how many more questions are they going to ask me? And I was just sitting there like kind of gloating, like super smile on my face, because I was thinking to myself, that's awesome. The checklists are longer because veterans are speaking up and talking about what we need when we transition. The questions are multiplying when you check into the VA because, again, veterans are speaking up. And the biggest thing is that people are listening to us, like we're being heard. And that is because people are, shouting from the rooftops, this is what we need in order to be successful and not unalive ourselves when we leave the service, right? And so I got to watch tons and tons of mentors prior to me, and like including Senior Master Sergeant Gary DeVault and Senior Master Sergeant Michael Lindley. And I also got to watch some people that didn't have a very successful and smooth transition. And for like 7 years, I watched what to do and what not to do. And then I took action on what it is that I believed would make me, successful post-service. So yeah, I mean, nothing came to me super simple. It wasn't easy. It's not luck. I just dug my heels in. I followed the checklist that the Air Force gave me. I went into TAP with a super optimistic attitude. And then I did what I needed to do. And that's kind of why I'm where I'm at now.
Awesome. So Misty, just a quick question. I know that you are kind of an expert in all this. I just want, for anybody out there listening who is actually going to be transitioning from the military to civilian life, and your expertise, can you give us like maybe five things that they should definitely focus on when making the transition to make sure that they're successful on the outside?
Yeah, so I always like to break the military transition up into two categories. So first, we should focus on the military transition. The transition is the logistics, right? The finding a job, the VA claim, the whatever, right? The interview, figuring out where you're going to live, so on and so forth. And then the other category is the mental transformation. The mental transformation piece is something that is super personal to most people, and I can only give you advice and recommendations on what to do. So we can discuss that in just a second. But when it comes to the military transition, first, this is something that really should start like I always advocate 36 months, but really anytime you start a career, because that's what the military is. It's a career, right? Yes, we sign a dotted line. Yes, we're contracted. So that makes us very different than most people, because in the US, we're sort of at will employment, right? So yeah, we agree to die for our country. Every time we put our uniform on, we deploy, we go through lots of different things that maybe most people don't go through. And so yes, we are a different breed, right? But while we're in the military, while we're living our military career, it is important for us to focus on who we are. So I always say, number one, make the military a part of your life and not your life. And yes, I know the military is a 24/7 operation, but there are ways that you can, separate yourself and where your career is not your entire being. So make your career, your military life a part of, or your military career a part of your life and not your life. And how do you do that? Number two, get some hobbies. Get some hobbies, figure out what it is that you want to do. For me, it was all about side hustles. Like when I was in the military, I was a virtual assistant for a fitness guru out there that most people know. I won't name drop, but
No worries.
I was a virtual assistant out there for a fitness guru. I was a virtual assistant for a couple other people as well. I had, some blog sort of side hobbies. That's when I really learned that I love to read and love to write. And I even started sort of speaking around the towns that I was in to local high schools, so on and so forth. And so I got a life, I got some hobbies. So number one, make the military a part of your life, not your life. Number two, get some hobbies. And number three, I always preach this, but connect with people that are not in the military. So get a different community, like a circle of trust that involves other people that are not in the military. Why? One, because it's really good for connections and you just never know what may come out of it. But also it's good for different perspectives and perceptions and, just really getting to know the people around you. And then the fourth thing that I would do is truly just look at job postings, look at different careers out there, and look at what their basic and preferred requirements are. Even if you're not separating or retiring for 10 years, still have an idea of what it is that you would like to pursue in the future. And look at those job postings so that way you can tailor your education and maybe your certification training. So I see it all the time that we have a lot of veterans that are going out and getting this, and this. And I always ask, what are you going to do with it? And they'll be like, oh, I have no idea. Well, we need to have some sort of direction. Yes, we have awesome educational benefits and, Air Force cool, Army cool, Navy cool, CG cool, all that stuff out there. But let's use it for our future advantage, right? And then number 5 is if you're not on LinkedIn yet, the best time to get on LinkedIn was yesterday, but the next best time is today. And LinkedIn is yes, it's a professional platform. It's a way to connect with others that are maybe doing what you want to do, or that others that can, add to your skill set or your life. Like I learn daily on LinkedIn, like I scroll social media hours a day. And sometimes people will be like, oh, you just waste so much time. Nope. Because I scroll with purpose. 100%. I learn, I connect. I'm scrolling TikTok and Instagram. Like I do the exact opposite of what they say to do when you are about to go to sleep, but I scroll, but I have my feed set up to where I'm learning. Every single post that I put out there, and I'm not afraid to say it, but it is inspired by something else that I saw on the internet. All of us are out there recreating and repurposing whatever it may be. So yeah, those are my 5 things that I preach all the time. Make your career a part of your life, not your entire life. Get a life, get some hobbies, get some things that, that you look forward to in order to leave work, right? Or you look forward to on the weekends or whatever. Number 3, build a community outside of your military community. 4, look at some job postings and just see what basic and preferred requirements are out there as far as the job that you think you want, and then start filling in the gaps by utilizing your tuition assistance or your cool, entitlements. And then, number 5, like get on LinkedIn, start connecting, start posting, start building your personal brand. Because I always say that you should never go and ask your network for something when you haven't deposited it into it. Right? You shouldn't withdraw from your network on LinkedIn. Like I see a lot of these posts, I'm looking for a job, and then I look at their profile and they've never posted before. They've never deposited into their network, So basically what you're doing is you're asking before you have even established who you are and what you can bring to your network and to your business. So
Misty, I'm going like on page 2. I filled up a whole page with what you just mentioned. Felt like you're just talking straight to me. This is awesome. This is great information for anybody getting out. Amazing. And
I'm glad we're recording this.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch this again. No, this is great. The fact that you mentioned, connect with people not in the military and network with folks. I feel like people start doing that when it's too late. Like they have retirement on the horizon. They can see it. And that's like one of the wickets, one of the checks in the boxes they need to fill out. Network. Okay, now I got to get outside of my bubble here and start talking to people who may be able to help me out. And that's like a year before they retire, 2 years before they retire. And not until it's too late, right? Now they're starting from the ground up and trying to build a network when they should have been doing this all along. So that's awesome.
I always advocate. I understand what you're saying. I don't ever think it's too late. My favorite line is the best time to do something was yesterday. The next best time is to do today. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? There's so many different reasons why. But I also would advocate, like, don't think that you know better. Don't think you know better. For the most part, you've never separated, you've never retired from the military before, but like anybody could utilize this advice. I worked at Continental for 3.5 years, and I shared this sort of same process with them as well. My team, who are civilians, and they're trying to figure out what it is they want to do in the future. And so, when it comes to your personal brand, because anyone who is a professional has a personal brand, and that's what LinkedIn allows you to do. For the most part, it's a free platform, right? Unless you do premium, but you could get on a free platform. Yeah, of course, it's not yours. Social media is never yours. But for the most part, you can establish, your personal brand on LinkedIn. What does your headline say about you? Do you want people to know you as retired Army or retired Air Force or a veteran? Or do you want people to know you as a human resources professional who specializes in project management and facilitates lean operations in an organization? Like, who are you? Because this is what makes me polarizing to some people, but I think being a veteran is probably one of the least interesting things about us. I'm not saying that it's not special, but it's not my entire personality. I don't introduce myself as a senior master sergeant of the Air Force unless I'm on a podcast for, for veterans. And so I always, advocate for people understanding, like, who are you? Who are you out of the military? What can you bring to an organization, to a community, and then start optimizing those special knowledge, skills, and abilities that you have. Because the training that the military provided you, no matter how long you were in, is top notch, and it's very unheard of in the civilian sector, because we get training at every single milestone, right? Every single milestone. Just think about the training that we have received. And like, I've been in the Air Force, you guys have been in the Army, different services and stuff like that. And we can all say that we've received top-notch training. So optimize that and establish who you are and get on LinkedIn as soon as possible.
Yeah, we preach that a lot. We've discussed it on here many times, and you're really hitting the point home. And I'll just tag on to that. And something I've said before, and me and Victor have talked about with other guests as well, is if you're on LinkedIn, and like you said, scrolling at night, that's what I said before we started recording. Like, I spent a ton of time on YouTube, and we're going to jump into some of those videos here a little bit later and just cover some of that stuff. But I spend more time consuming media than I really like to admit, but I do it consciously. I have a purpose behind what I'm doing. I'm looking for specific things. I'm trying to figure out specific things or understand how the algorithm works and things like that. And it's really just a matter of being genuinely like conscious of what you're actually doing. As far as LinkedIn goes, though, yeah, if you're on there, yes, set up your profile. Yes, get it together. Get it professionally put together of how you want the world to view you. And then also, like, just get in the conversations. Like, if you're interested in logistics, like, find every post that you can find, maybe one a day on logistics. Just comment, just tell something that you know about what they're talking about, offer some value, get engaged with the conversation, and write your own posts. If you have interesting and informational things to put out there about your specific job topics, like, just write about it and get involved in the conversation.
Absolutely. 10 to 15 minutes a day. And so I think this is where a lot of us veterans go wrong, because we're so used to being like the best at what we do. We're used to going all in, right? And so I just say, never let perfection be the enemy of good. Like, 10 to 15 minutes, log on to LinkedIn whenever it's convenient for you. You know, I don't pay attention to when's the best time to post, when's the best time to engage. That is just not my focus. Now, could I have a little bit more popularity if I did that? Sure. But that's just not what I don't have the time for that. So I don't have time as an excuse. I use it as a reason as to why I do what I do and when I do it. So 10 to 15 minutes a day, scroll. You know, for me, I always scroll 3 hashtags: military transition, DoD skill bridge, and skill bridge, because for my business, you know, I work for Vets to PM. Those hashtags are important for us. That's how we find new clients and customers, but also that's how I can add to the conversation. When I was at Continental, I would always scroll human resources, hashtags or project management hashtags. And so just find a couple hashtags, scroll them, add to the conversation, and make sure you're being authentic. Make sure that there's no false advertisement, because you don't want anyone calling you on your BS, right? And just be who you really want to be. Like, who I am on LinkedIn is 100% who I am in person. I curse on LinkedIn. I mean, this is what you see is what you get, because I want people to buy into who I truly am and not think that they're going to get someone else. So, you know, it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes, like, I truly believe none of us in this world need more time. We just need more focus. So what do you want to focus on? 10 to 15 minutes, LinkedIn, you can build your personal brand.
Yeah, that's excellent, Misty. Scroll with a purpose is one thing that stood out to me. A lot of times I find myself kind of going down these little rabbit holes, and I'm like, what am I? And I catch myself after, like, what am I doing here? But on LinkedIn, you know, I actually do that with a purpose, right? I want to see what people are putting out there. I want to see what I can learn. Maybe I can put a little tidbit of information out there myself, you know, or ask somebody, try to connect with somebody, maybe message somebody about something that maybe interests me or a position that I'm interested in. So scrolling with a purpose really stands out. Thank you for that.
And I see a question out there, and I would love to get in on this question. You know, Joe asked,
absolutely.
A little off topic, no rush, but thoughts on sticking around in order to hit high 3? Haven't done the math. Are we talking a couple dollars or a couple hundred? So I can just speak from my personal experience. I did not wait until high 3. So I am not receiving, the highest of senior master sergeant. I'm receiving some sort of calculation of senior and master. And when I did the math, now I couldn't tell you how to do the math now. I'm just going to be honest with you, Joe. But when I made the decision to retire, it was a difference of about $350 a month. And so I weighed that with why I currently wanted to retire at that point in time with, could I stay? And I just said, absolutely not. This is what I want to do now. I want to leave, and it's fine. And so my husband and I made a commitment that for the first 3 years of my military transition, I would go all in at a company, try to earn whatever I possibly could, and then eventually kind of make up that difference. And that's exactly what we did. For me, it was at that point in time, I was needing to, kind of leave the military for a personal reason. And there was no way that I was going to, stay wholeheartedly and really providing what the service needed from me for 2 more years. So I could just give you that, my personal experience.
Good. And I think the COLA trap, I've heard of that. I think it's just a calculation of getting more COLA at some point in time during the year instead of a different part of the year, like depending on when you actually retire. I don't know too much about it, Joe. I apologize for that. We can do some research on it and hit you up on the back end. But yeah, as far as the high 3, similar situation. I mean, as far as wanting to get out because I knew that I wanted to get into something else, I did hit my high 3, but I was already a year past that. So I had been a chief warrant officer 3 for about maybe 3 years, 4 years or so at that point in time. But yeah, I hit my high 3, decided to get out at some point. I just knew that there was something else out there for me. But the thing is, when you know, right? And when you know that you want to move on, you know that you have something else to give to another chapter of your life, you just got to make that transition, man. That's all I got to say about that.
Some people have my husband and I were both in the service, and we both retired as senior NCOs, and we both knew that we were probably going to get some sort of VA disability. So when we kind of weighed the pros and cons, like we're blessed, but not everybody has that opportunity. So some people might need to, stay in order to reach that high 3. I always tell people, first you have to look at, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, can you afford to retire, earlier than high 3? And if you truly can, then you just have to ask yourself, if I stayed longer, am I going to be able to give my all and be mentally well? And if you can answer if you can say yes, then good, stay in. If not, I guarantee you'll probably be able to make up the difference in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I didn't even really know about this high 3 or not the high 3 thing, but the COLA trap thing until after I actually got out. And again, if anybody wants to stick around, we're going to jump into some of those YouTube channels. And there's one in particular that I'm going to show you that that's literally all he talks about is the COLA trap and how to do that math calculation and figure out what exact month gives you the most retirement benefits on the back end once you actually retire. I paid no attention to it. I was in the same kind of situation. I was ready to get out already 5 years prior. And I just went till I hit that 20-year mark, and just happened to be around the same time that I just crossed over my high 3. So I didn't really even $200 a month. I mean, come on, you can make that up in VA claims. You can make that up working a regular job, or if you think that's important, you can start putting away $200 or $300 a month now, up to your 2 or 3 or 4 years when you start to retire, and then you've got a ton of that money already saved.
Yeah, for some people it might be super important, but I think for us in our situation, I couldn't give the Air Force what the Air Force needed anymore, and so I did not feel that it was right for me to stay any longer. So
yeah, somewhere out there I came across like a calculation. Somebody actually did like the math. I hate math, so I'm not going to do it. Right? Sorry, Joe. But somewhere out there, I came across this guy who did a calculations on exactly how much you're losing if you stay in the service after 20 years, because it bumps up every year like 2.5%. So if you look at it, staying in after 20 years versus getting out, potentially getting your VA disability plus retirement, how much you're losing just by getting that 2.5% pay bump instead of getting out and getting this other stream of income, VA disability, retirement pay. So it was really interesting. I'll have to come across it. I'll have to look for it and come across it and post it up here at some point in time. I'll do some search on it. But Joe, I wish I had a better answer for you, man. But I'll find out who does the calculations and I'll send them your way, man. I promise.
Yeah, and if you want, Victor and Misty, we can actually jump in. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It sounds like a lot, but just to check them out and give like a quick overview and a shout out to these folks. I really want to just like highlight some of these other veterans out there who are putting out information to the internet, putting it out on YouTube. And I feel like, some of them have a ton of followers and subscribers, and some of them have a few subscribers. But I think they're all putting out some good information, and one specifically to your question, Joe. So, let me just throw this up on the screen real quick.
And isn't this such a great testament to what we have available to us now? So, when veterans are out there saying we're not supported, we don't have the resources, we do. I mean, you might have to go and read them, but we do.
All right, so this first one I want to throw up on here, and I'll just play like a couple seconds of it, and then I can get your thoughts on it. The name of the channel is called The Stroke of Luck, and I'll throw these links. Actually, the links are in the YouTube description underneath this video. If you see it after the fact, or if you're watching it live, you can probably check it out there. Let me know if the audio comes through or not as well.
No audio.
No
audio.
His mic is off, or our audio is not working. So I got a chance to watch this guy's channel. Was it The Stroke of Luck, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So he's he's got a couple good workouts too. So I noticed. But yeah, clean setup and humorous guy. Got a couple of jokes that he throws in there. Kind of a dry humor, but I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
He puts out, I know who he is. He puts out really good info, and I just think it's another testament of, us veterans are out there trying to mentor in our own way, other veterans that are about to go through it. And so, the one thing I always say is like, just be mindful. We are in the veterans are supported era, and so that can be pretty overwhelming. But if you connect with A Stroke of Luck, and that's your channel, and that's something that you scroll and you can get some use out of it and maybe share that with your community. I mean, that's how we as veterans, help one another.
Yeah, it's good to have all these options at our disposal. It really is. And not just have to rely on 5 days of TRS to give you all the information you need.
And you really feel some sort of way about that, huh?
Well, you know what? I was talking to John about it because, there's like 90% of the stuff that they passed, I never even used. So I'm going to go back and ask them if I can actually sit there or stand there or whatever and pass on all this information to this room of potential, civilian, future civilians on what's actually available to them. Right? Like how often am I going to use these, federal websites? I've never even logged into this after I got out. So I figured, let me give them the real deal of how it actually works, the feelings that you're going to go through, the fact that some people who don't have all the education they need may feel like they're kind of painting themselves into a corner, but they can also get out and do their GI Bill. They have all these things at their disposal. If they happen to get 100% VA disability, and then they get Chapter 35 for them and their family, or for their family. So there's a lot that was not covered that I wish I knew ahead of time so I can ask questions about. I just didn't have the knowledge at that point in time. Now that I do, after doing all this research, talking to John, bringing folks on like you, Misty, my world has opened. And I'm like, same thing you mentioned, you know, all these options are now available. We can push all this information out to the masses. And I just feel like I need to stand there in front of this group of folks and just push the information out that they might not have readily available at the TRS.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and again, it's why we're trying to highlight some of these folks that the stroke of luck, he talks a lot about VRNE stuff. So if you're looking for VRNE information specifically, he's got a lot of good information on there. You might have to put it on 1.5x or 2x. That's just my personal opinion for the speed. But he does put out some really good information. This next one I want to touch is the Veterans Info Tap. This guy puts out videos literally like every 2 hours, it seems like.
Yeah, that's his main job. I think that's his main job.
He basically just scours the VA website and scours all the VA data and anything that's coming across the table. I think he's also involved with some of the congressional like ins and outs as far as getting some of these VA things processed. I don't know exactly how, but if there's something you need to know about a VA benefit that's potentially going through Congress or whatever, like this guy, he's all on top of it all day long, every day.
Yeah.
So another great channel.
Yeah, he's got good thumbnails too, and his setup is nice. He's got all the services on there. I like the setup. He's got a little join button on there too. You can join and get stars or something. I don't know. I was playing around with his page. It looked pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great channel to check out. There's the channel if you need to look at it, has the thumbnails.
What's the logo?
The next one I want to hit.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just looking at
the next one. This thing.
Yeah, it's like beer going.
I don't know if you notice in the back behind him, he's got like a mortar shell sitting on the shelf behind him on his videos.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Some of these guys got some interesting studios and some interesting setups, and you'll look and catch some of the props that are in the background. This next one, for example, if you look on the back behind him, he's got a bottle of this hot sauce. It's like the hottest hot sauce on the planet, made with like the hottest peppers. Yeah. So this guy, we actually reached out to him, and we're going to have him actually on in I think it's about a month. And he's going to be on with us live on one of these Sunday live things. So stay tuned for that. But he also does a lot of talk about VA disability stuff. Yeah. Tons and tons of VA disability stuff, and he's always putting out a lot of really good information.
What was his channel? The CivDiv?
Yeah, the CivDiv.
The CivDiv. All right. Stop paying for VA claims. Well, that's true. Stop. I like that.
It really is true.
Yeah.
Not to knock any veteran out there that's trying to make a living on it, because I'm all for nonprofits, all for profit, whatever it may be. But we have to be careful. I do think, I personally, and I know people are going to disagree with me, and I know that you disagree with the TAP or whatever it is, but I personally, 4 years ago, believed that, and I retired in the height of COVID. I mean, I 100% was set up for success. I mean, I truly believe that TAP provided the basics, which that is the point of that class, is to provide to the masses the basics, right? The main things that people who are separating or retiring are going to need to learn, right? And think about how tough that is. I mean, I know that there are specific TAP classes, or the Army has a different terminology for it, but I was in a TAP class. I was retiring after 20 years with the TAP class with people that were separating after 4. So I can understand how difficult that can be to come up with a program that, is going to, really inform the masses. I do believe that every year it's progressively getting better, and it's getting longer, which means that there's more info, and I just preach, like, go in with a super optimistic attitude. What am I going to get from each day? Who can I connect with? Like, I still to this day stay in touch with my TAP instructor. And I mean, we talk all the time. I mean, did TAP provide everything? Absolutely not. But it definitely provided the basics. And all those websites that you're talking about, I mean, I don't use some of them, but I definitely use a lot of them. I think it just depends on who you are and your career and what you really want. But I mean, I still to this day look at my Department of Labor book. You know, I did everything that they told me to do for my VA claim. I didn't use an outside source. I did the research. I looked at my records. And I think that's, you know, what we're all trying to really hone in on is every veteran, if you're physically and mentally capable, then you have the resources, but you are going to have to do the work. You will have to do the work. You'll have to take action yourself and do the work. No hiring manager or recruiter is banging down your door. You have to put yourself out there. And if you don't speak up for yourself as far as your medical stuff, then you won't be heard, but you have to speak up.
That's right.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Oh, I love him. Yes.
This guy.
Yeah, this guy's entertaining.
He's polarizing, but he's entertaining.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
He's
hat.
got a lot of good stuff. This particular one is VA Chapter 31 benefits, talking about the VRNE program, and he keeps stressing in the video, like, this is not an educational program. This is a program to get you employed and keep you employed. Like,
yeah, he does really good work, and he's out everywhere, and he's always giving his time and great resources, great references too. He backs it up, and he has good opinions, but the opinions are really backed up by facts. I like him.
Yeah, I think at one point he put up a blurb on there, and he's like, "The VA is the enemy," and it's just, he's really good. He's funny guy. I'll put up his channel.
I mean, that's important too. Like we also have to remember, like, we don't have to agree with everything that people are saying. You know, like I don't necessarily agree that the VA is the enemy, but based on somebody's, you know, experience, that could be their perception. And so we have to remember that too when we're giving out advice. Like, I am not for everybody. You guys won't be for everybody. And people might not agree with my stuff. That's okay. Because the best thing now is that you actually can just delete and move on, because there's going to be someone out there. There will be a channel. There'll be a LinkedIn influencer or whatever you want to call us that you can connect with. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't agree with some of the things he says, but I also believe that he comes from a very educated, you know, standpoint. Like, he's not out there putting crap out there. He is doing due diligence. I really do believe that. I like him.
Yeah. I think the majority of like all the ones that we're talking about now, and including our channel, like we're not out here to try to sell the world something crazy. Like, we're trying to put out information and help people out that we wish somebody would have done for us whenever we were going through the processes. And I think I don't want to throw out some kind of crazy response or statement, but I feel like if I was in the Air Force, it probably would have been a better retirement transition environment. And maybe that's just because I've seen the Air Force and the Marines and the Army and the Navy together out in the desert and out in these deployments and out in other places. And I know for a fact that everywhere I go, the Air Force is at, they've got all the good stuff and they've got things lined up. And even working with the Air Force for a year, like working with a team with the Air Force for a year before I got out, they got their shit together. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was super blessed. I mean, I made a very rash decision to retire. Like, nobody saw it coming. Like, literally August 19th of 2019, I had a meeting with my civilian boss and just didn't really care for the meeting. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And I 100% made a permanent decision based on what I knew was going to be a temporary situation. But I was like, nope, not doing it. Retire, like, put in, you know, my retirement papers that day. And my boss, you know, although we disagreed, like, he 100% supported me and provided me anything and everything that I needed in order to, you know, effectively and efficiently retire. Because I actually only had about 6 months because I was doing the DoD skill bridge. And then, I mean, I was retiring in the height of COVID, but I thought that we were super supported. You know, we were called all the time. We were, I mean, even from the VA, like, I don't have one negative experience. I mean, so I don't know if it's just because I was in the Air Force, which I'm not gonna go against what you said. I mean, I retired. I mean, I deployed with the Army. I worked with the S-1 in the aerial port, and, you know, like, they they were loving our friendship because I always got them certain things and stuff like that, you know. But I also think it has a lot to do with just the people that I had around me and probably my overall attitude. Like I just chose to look at everything, you know. I mean, I know this sounds ideal, but this is how I live my life now. You know, I have a couple personal issues going on that most people won't know about. And I just wake up every day like I did today. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for, you know, letting me be an example, you know. And I just, any negative issue that I faced during my retirement, like, you know, I did face a couple negative things. I never highlighted it. I just did what I needed to do. I would do this exercise every day. I still do it every day to this day. When I wake up, I always thank my maker. I grab a cup of coffee and I come to my desk. I set a timer and I write down everything that is bothering me, everything that's on my mind. It's a really good exercise to kind of, you know, like download everything that's, you know, that I'm worrying about, that I'm stressed out about. And then I take a pencil and I circle everything that I can control. And then I write another list of all the things that I can control. And that's what I'm focusing on. And I did that throughout my entire transition. And I do that now. And, you know, I think if you go into your military transition, whether you're a separatee or a retiree, with an optimistic attitude and not, what am I going to get for my service or whatever? I mean, you are owed stuff. Absolutely. But, you know, it is your attitude that will really determine your altitude. Right. So.
That's right. And I really have no room to talk about anything nice regarding equipment and things. John, like you mentioned, I was in the Marine Corps. We got hand-me-downs from the Army. So yeah, it's there was nothing nice, but we made do with what we had. So I'm happy about that. I'm still alive.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, and just like you said, like before you get to that, you made do with what you had. Like that is the ultimate like mantra for every veteran right now. Work with what you have. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Especially I hear all the time, like, oh, I didn't get my degree. I wasn't allowed to. I didn't focus, whatever. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. So what? Now what? Prove that you are versatile. Prove that you are adaptable. Prove that you are the veteran that everyone thinks we are. And just put one foot in front of the other. How do you run a marathon? Not 1 mile at a time. It's one step at a time. How do you transition from the military? One day at a time. And just do what you can with what you have and get back up the next day, you know, and just do it again. And you don't have to do it alone because you have everybody around you that wants to support you, but they don't know how to help you. So you're going to have to ask. And I know that's a big ask from someone that might not be mentally strong, but you are going to have to, you know, rely on your lifeline. And rely on the people that, you know, that are out here giving all this advice via YouTube or LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's really, I'm glad you brought up the morning journaling kind of morning pages thing that you do every morning. Yeah. Again, for everybody, it's a different situation and everybody has their own way of doing it. But even if you're not doing the exact way that you just described of writing down everything that's bothering you, driving you crazy, and then circling the things that are in your control, that's a very focused and very probably really effective way to do it. But even if you're just writing the stuff down that's pissing you off in the morning before you get out of the house, you'd be surprised at how much of that just data dump like goes from your brain onto the page and then leaves you for the rest of the day with a clear mind. It's insane how it works.
Yep. And I repeat a mantra all the time. Complain and remain, or praise and be raised. So you can complain about what's not going right in your life, and I guarantee you that you will remain in what's not going right in your life. Or you can praise what is going okay. Or, you know, I always kind of approach an obstacle like, again, probably pretty ideal, but I'm like, all right, what do I have to learn from this? You know, what is it that the universe is trying to teach me, you know, and just, yeah, complain and remain, or praise and be raised.
I love this conversation.
I'm on page 2 already. You know, there you go.
I love this channel that you're the Veteran Nexus. I love this one.
Yeah. So, another talking about a lot of VA claims and a lot of different things with VA stuff. Really smart guy, super down to earth guy, as far as I can see from my side of the YouTube channel. but he's got some good information, good videos, a great channel to watch. Again, if it's your thing or not your thing, we're just trying to put out some information on different channels that are available that you may or may not know about, and highlight some of these folks that I think personally are putting out good information.
Yeah, this one was a new one to me. I've not seen this one before. I had a chance to check out some of his videos. I do like that he breaks everything down by chapters on the video stream. Right. That was good. So if something didn't pertain to me, just kind of scroll over. Hey, this one does pertain to me. Let me just watch this snippet here. That was good. And I also like the monsters or whatever those energy drinks are behind him in the background. I know you live off that stuff, John.
I love monsters. They need to sponsor us. Monster Energy, if you're out there listening, call us up, hit us up. Jesus. No, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, if you can control what's in your feed, like, yes, there's a ton of crap out there that's going to be depressing, and the sensationalization of everything, and the news is just going to pound you with all the bad stuff, but you can literally control what's in your feed. If you see something and you don't like it, like, dislike it, like, delete it, block it, report it as spam.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to keep getting that stuff in your feed, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. Like, no matter where you go, you're going to get what you ingest. So if you're looking at crazy stuff and looking at sensationalized news, that's what you're going to get more of. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and you have to ask yourself, like, is it effective? Like, you know, I used to pride myself in the military. I mean, I would know about every single conflict and war that was happening and every single current event, so on and so forth. And then, you know, I noticed, like, I was so stressed. I was so worried. I was fretting about stuff that honestly I had no control over. And so when I retired, I did sort of a year detox from the news, because just the political news alone, you know, the division, I mean, especially when I retired, I mean, COVID, and then, you know, the social injustice stuff. And I just felt so hurt and so stressed and so worried. And even now I'm like, the cyber warfare stuff is like, I mean, I'm not perfect. I stress out. That's why I have to do, you know, my exercise every morning. But you just have to kind of ask yourself, is it effective? You know, like, I get the rudest comments on LinkedIn and messages, and I just choose, like, whenever I get a rude comment or something, I just put them in my prayer book and then I delete it. I don't give any light to it. I mean, any life to it. I don't. My famous comment, and it pisses people off, is thank you for your input, because, you know, I believe that people who try to hurt people are actually probably hurt people. But you have to ask yourself, like, you know, if what I'm ingesting is making me a stressed out, angry person or whatever, then maybe we shouldn't watch that anymore. You know, maybe we shouldn't scroll on there anymore. That's why if you look at my social media feeds, like, it's stupid stuff from food to professional development to I'm down the rabbit hole of book series, because I absolutely love fiction books. And now my problem, and my husband even said it, he's like, you have to stop buying books. We have nowhere to put them. So if anything, my feed has made me buy way too many books, way too many shoes. So, but yeah, I agree with that statement. You have to kind of figure out what it is that you want to fill your brain with. You know, you're already dealing with so much anyway, going through this mental transformation that I spoke about. It's hard when you take your uniform off, trying to find out who the heck you are and where your self-worth, you know, actually lies. And so why make it more complicated? Just fill your feed with really good things that fill your heart and fill your brain, and maybe make you a little bit smarter at the end of the day. And then just do your best to worry about what you can control. And that's it, what you can control. And then we just have to pray for the rest.
Yeah, the Stoic wisdom keeps coming to the forefront every single day. It's a very Epictetus thing to say.
Yep. It's a great book.
Yeah, if you haven't read it out there in the audience, you should definitely go pick it up, or at least something close to it.
So that's my favorite YouTube channel. That's actually, I have a daily battle rhythm every single day when I drink coffee, what I do. And that's actually one of the YouTube channels and LinkedIn that I go to, and then I scroll the site. So it's really good. It helped my husband and I kind of do something in addition to what we already do for VA. So I love that YouTube channel.
Yeah, this is actually the official one, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, you can always tell by their cover.
Yeah, I figured what better way than to go straight to the source, right? To get your information. That way you're not hearing you're not trying to figure out if it's, maybe fake information or whatever it is, or maybe somebody's not giving you the entire thing. Go straight to the source. Yeah, I think I might bookmark this one and just make that my daily thing as well.
Yeah, I catch it usually when I read I think it's like a weekly email that they sent out from the VA, and they usually have a blurb in there for this channel. So
yeah,
I've actually been trying to reach out to them as well.
Yeah, that's such a great newsletter that they sent every week too. So I know it's hard through spam, but like somehow, flag it so it comes to you. But the best way to keep up on, any sort of VA news is just go right to the source. I do believe that there are some great YouTube personalities out there and veterans that are really trying to make sure that we have all the information, but start with the source first. We also have to ask ourselves, like, I do believe that people are entitled and we're owed sort of has a negative connotation, but you know what I mean, right? Like we served. And so we definitely should be compensated because of any sort of mental or physical issues that we have acquired because of the service. Right. But just be careful. Like there are a lot of people out there that are trying to, lack of a better term, sort of milk the VA. Like that stuff will come back to, like, that's going to come back to us. Like there are people out there that really deserve certain entitlements, and we have to just ensure that we're, facilitating the process with integrity so nobody else is missing out, if that makes sense.
Right. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would also put this in there in that conversation is like, I mean, we talk a lot about the 100% disability, and it's like the peak of whatever that we're trying to strive for as veterans, directly or indirectly. But I think somebody pointed it out to me, and I don't remember if we talked about it on the channel or if I had a conversation with somebody one-on-one, but they basically said there's another tier or two above just the regular 100% VA disability. That's specifically for people who have like lost limbs, like lost complete movement and lost, vision and things like that are way, way more severe than, I guess I won't say way more severe, but PTSD and things like that are very severe things. But if you've lost like both of your legs and you're in a hospice care or something like there's another level of VA disability above just the 100% PNT disability, right? So yes, it's a hard internal battle for some people because you don't want to go and you don't want to feel like you're taking away from somebody else, but you're not actually taking away from anybody else. That money is dog-eared for everybody who's been a veteran and served the military.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And if you're facilitating your claim with integrity and then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. I know of 3 veterans specifically that will not go because they're full of pride, and that's okay. I get it. I understand it, but be full of pride while getting some money every month for what how you served and what you did for your country. Personally, I would love to be at 0% because then I wouldn't have a back issue. You know what I mean? Like I'm blessed. Like I'm glad that the VA, the VA is providing me, money, whatever, like, because this is something that I'm not probably going to get over. But yeah, I wish at one point I would be at 0%. So like every 5 years you're evaluated and stuff like that. Like if my percentage went down, but I could have full mobility in my back, I'm telling you, because my quality of life is 100% impacted because of my back, because of the military. And that's, I'm blessed that we're getting compensated for it. But my goal would be to be at 0%. So I'm not having any sort of night tremors anymore, and I can have total mobility in my back. But I just have a different way of thinking, I guess.
Yeah, and not just the money itself too. I mean, at 100%,
Oh yeah, it's the
you get
medical,
like Champ VA, the medical stuff. So that could also help somebody else out. Who that could be the defining factor why somebody would want to go past 90 and try to achieve that 100%, because they actually have these medical issues that they actually they rate, and they want to get the medical stuff from the VA. So
absolutely. Yeah, because I have vertigo, which was service connected, and I had a little bout the other day and went right to the VA, got right in, I always personally get really great care. I've just never had a bad experience. It's definitely not just for the money, it's for everything else that the VA provides. And that's another thing to highlight too, is that there's so many other resources out there. Every time I go to the VA, I see all these cool little focus groups and support groups and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, like we are moving up in the world. Our veterans are so supported now. And it's because of all the work that all these YouTubers and everyone is doing, and especially the people that are on the Hill advocating for us, and that's why it's so important to not just pay attention to who we elect, as our president, but like our local politicians and our Congress and our Senate. It's really important to pay attention to like military and veteran issues, because the people that are in office really get to decide, those entitlements and those benefits that we get and the support that we get. And especially there's a lot of issues for the Veterans Affairs that are on the docket right now to vote for. And so that's where we can advocate for ourselves and for our future veterans, is just to get involved in those major issues and know what you're actually voting for.
Yep. This over.
All right, this guy is entertaining. I just found out about this guy, Army Colonel, right? Retired.
He's Colonel. Yeah.
I think in his welcome video he mentions he's an Army Colonel retired. He's like in your face, just kind of giving you all the info. Man, it's pretty good. I like him.
Yeah, he's good. He has a good following too.
Yeah, and I wanted to point him out because of one of the questions that we had regarding the cola trap. This guy goes in depth, like he has like a slideshow and goes through it line by line and like talks about all of that stuff.
Good.
So, and then there's a paper out there, I guess it was written maybe a few years ago. I forget the title of it and the author, but this guy definitely talks about a lot of that cola trap and like lining up the months and figuring out the high three and all that stuff. He's definitely the one to check out. He's got a ton of videos and a lot of good resources.
He gets in detail on a lot of stuff, I noticed. I mean, he got into detail on an Excel spreadsheet that he had for his leave.
Yeah, so I saw it.
I never got into that much detail.
God bless him. I don't have the brain space for that stuff, but it's good. This is just a really awesome testament to how much information is out there. And so the most important thing to do is really kind of identify what you need or desire information on, and go down that rabbit hole, and just be careful of being too overwhelmed by the resources to where they don't help you anymore. You know what I mean? And so that for me, I just tapped into one other resource and that was enough for me. But once you have utilized every piece of advice from that one resource, then go on to another one. But it just kind of all depends on what info you need, and just be mindful of how overwhelming it can get when you don't narrow the focus.
Yeah. And here's one for you. Actually, he's an Air Force guy and talks a ton about Air Force, getting in the Air Force and getting out of the Air Force and different things like that.
I love his cover. When I first saw his cover, I was like, hey, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good though. Yeah. He puts out good information. I've been tagged in a lot of his stuff. Yeah. I think he's great. I think he's, he's not necessarily my cup of tea, but you know, hey, if you're going to help a veteran, whatever way, I mean, so many veterans out there only connect with a few personalities, and that's good. We need more personalities out there so veterans will feel like they have someone to connect with, and he's a good one.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about, really. Just everybody kind of converging and going in the same direction with their content and with their message, and basically with the end goal of helping out veterans, helping out military members.
Absolutely.
Good screen name too. It makes me want to click on it, like Jody with a Y, but why? So now I want to find out.
Yeah, he's good. And he has his write-ups are really good too. So he definitely has a creative flair.
Yeah, he's real good. Real funny dude too. Real funny. And then I got this one that I'll put up real quick. And then I've got another one I think you sent me that I'll pull it up in a minute. But Cliff Wagner, if you're interested in Space A stuff, I've put out a few Space A videos. I'm probably going to put out some more hopefully in the future. But he talks a lot about Space A travel and retirees and disabled veterans being able to fly and things like that. So
what I gotta watch that E4 Mafia Explained. I'm curious about that now. I gotta put this guy on the list. E4 Mafia, okay.
How to avoid everything. That's a great title. Great title.
How to avoid everything. Stay in your room. Just don't even leave.
Yeah.
The E4 Mafia.
Great channels out there, you know. And again, though, just be mindful, you could totally get overwhelmed. So what topic do you want to learn about today? And go and find an expert that's been doing it for a while. And maybe you agree with a lot of the stuff they put out, and maybe you don't. But the focus of all of us out there that are mentoring veterans is just to help you in some way, shape, or form. But you get to choose how we help you, and and in what topic. So, and I also put a YouTube channel out there that is not by a veteran whatsoever, but I do believe that it can help veterans who are seeking, job search advice. So self-made millennial Madeline Mann. And so she really helped me with my HR career and, tweaking my resume and interview and how to answer, the question, tell us about yourself, or why do you want this job, or what questions to ask an interviewer. And so I love her. She has a strong, she's visibility on YouTube. That's where she first started. LinkedIn is really good. So is TikTok. But she was an HR professional. And then she went into the influencer realm, and she's leading, masterminds that personally have helped me. But I think all of her YouTube videos are great for anyone. So I just wanted to put out that resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. That's a good one. It's a really good one. Again, just trying to spread the wealth and trying to share the wealth that's out there, and trying to get people in front of more information. And like you said, be very selective with what you're looking at if you're trying to solve a specific problem, for sure. And I would say almost go at it with a pessimistic kind of attitude towards what you're looking at, and not pessimistic and criticizing it to death, but pessimistic in asking questions and not necessarily believing exactly what they're telling you for the gospel, right? Question what you hear, and then go do some more research and figure out if it's actually true for you, for your specific case.
Yeah, and we all have that responsibility, right? So I retired 4 years ago. So I always make it a point to say, like I tell my husband this all the time. It's like, we have to be careful, because what we know to be true was 4 years ago. So what I speak about for TAP was my experience. I have been blessed where I can sit in on a TAP now, and I recently did, and I felt the same way. Like a couple things changed, but I felt like, yep, it's for the most part, it's the same. It's providing you the basics, whatever. I actually think they did a better job explaining the VA stuff. But just remember that, once you leave the service, like after 6 months, whatever you experienced, it's pretty irrelevant, because things change, right? And so we have to be cautious of that. And I would just encourage anyone who's trying to help veterans, just make sure that you are continuously trying to upskill, re-educate yourself. Department of Labor is a great website as well, for not just the veteran, but for anybody. And so there's a lot of good stuff about labor laws on there. And, you know, I have a set battle rhythm every morning, just information that I go to, you know, just stuff to help me sort of build this knowledge, you know, the skill set that I want to build in order to help veterans. So we just need to be responsible, you know, with the information that we're giving out, and just make sure that it is backed up by some sort of official source. And if it's an opinion, then make sure that you're stating that it's an opinion.
So, Misty, I want to ask you a question.
How many pages of notes do you have, Victor?
How many pages of what? Oh, I'm still on page 2 now, but yeah.
Okay, good
information. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. Like, this is LinkedIn based, right? So you have a good, you know, presence on LinkedIn. That's how I found you. What can somebody do to put their best foot forward on their LinkedIn profile? Is there anything maybe you can spread or maybe share with us? Maybe it's a tagline or their headline or their cover photo, anything that stands out that somebody could do to improve their LinkedIn presence. Yeah,
well, first ask yourself, like, what do I want from this platform? So my purpose being on the platform has changed, right? So before, my purpose was 100% because the TAP instructor told us that our first night homework was, you need to go and you need to set up a LinkedIn account. Here's your free 1-year premium. And so that was our homework. And we had to prove by showing him on our phone our LinkedIn account. He was awesome. And so that's what I did. I went home, I did everything. I activated the account, whatever. And then the next day, and I don't think that this was actually a part of the curriculum. I think this was him providing us additional information. But the next day he brought us to LinkedIn Help. And so you can go right to LinkedIn Help and you can search profile setup. And that will tell you exactly how to set up your profile. And then you can go even further and set up your profile to be sourced by recruiters. Because as a recruiter, I have a backdoor to LinkedIn, right? So I get special access as a recruiter where I can go in and find you. And so there's a way to set up your profile to be sourced. That's what we call it, sourced by a recruiter or found by a recruiter. So go to LinkedIn Help or Madeline Mann, just the YouTube channel. She has a great 1-pager out there on how to set up your profile, but LinkedIn Help can help you as well. And just set up your profile, and you start from the very beginning, and it'll tell you you're at 0% profile setup and now you're at 100%. It'll kind of walk you through. I would personally utilize every single, category that you can to include the skills, because when you set up your skills, that is another thing that us recruiters can search. So start with your headline. I always say your headline is who you want to be, or who you want the recruiter, to find, right? So when I started out, I remember my headline said human relations business partner, because that's the job that I wanted. And guess what? I was recruited by Marissa at Continental, and she told me this. I searched human relations business partner, and she said she searched Sumter, South Carolina. Those are the 2 things that I had in my headline. Boom, she found me. So set up your headline to be searched, and LinkedIn Help will tell you, or you can follow me. I share a lot of good tips on there. So does Vets to PM. There I am. Yeah. And so if you looked at my headline, look at my headline now compared to, what it was when I was job searching, it's totally different. But now my goal is just to be a credible source for veterans and human resource professionals and project managers. And so I do believe that my headline provides you what I talk about and kind of what I stand for. And there's a little bit of personality in there, because I do post what a lot of people think, and I do HR differently. I absolutely, HR differently than most. So yeah, that's what you can do. The goal is on LinkedIn is, you want to put forth who you are for people to find you. And so if you're putting transition, soon to be transitioning military or whatever, or veteran, whatever, that's fine. But just remember that that's who's going to find you. So if you want recruiters or hiring managers to find you, what is it that you do? What unique value add, UVA, do you bring? And what keywords are out there? So you want to make sure that, if you want to be human resources or human relations business partner or a project manager or a program manager or whatever it is, that those keywords are in your profile.
Yeah, that's excellent information, because I feel like I change my LinkedIn profile like every 2 weeks just to update little things like on the resume, or I don't know, add keywords on there maybe. Like I have a job now, a career after I transitioned out. So I'm not so worried about it as I was before, but this is all great information, right? Unique value add. I had to write that down.
UVA, unique value add. It's just,
Excellent.
my unique value add is, I'm a veteran, but my unique value add is that I'm pretty transparent, and I'm going to have the hard conversation, and I'm going to provide you feedback. And my ultimate goal in life is to develop better human beings who develop better human beings. So I do believe that if you were to look through my entire profile and the last 10 posts, that would come out. And that's what you want to do. That's my brand. Am I for everybody? Absolutely not. I'm super polarizing. A lot of veterans actually dislike me, then that's fine. But again, sometimes I think that if you hit a nerve, there's a reason, right? But I'm like sushi. You either love me or you hate me, and that's fine. There's another veteran out there that wants to help you. You don't need to go to me.
No, that's great. I appreciate the info.
What were you saying, John?
I just want to kind of tag on to what you were saying earlier about your social media presence and your personal branding, and talking about this LinkedIn stuff and how to set it up. And when you say setting up your profile for search, I just want to make sure I clarify for everybody, because not everybody may make the connection of what that actually is. But if you line it up, like your personal brand, your personal profile, your profile on LinkedIn, how you present yourself to the world is all really just your personal marketing strategy for putting yourself out there as your own product for the world to buy, click on, watch, observe, whatever it may be. When you're setting up your profile for search, like you mentioned, you're trying to reverse engineer what the companies out there that you potentially want to work for are actually searching for when they're trying to recruit people for their jobs, right? So it's like search engine optimization for websites or for YouTube or whatever it is. But you're basically reverse engineering, like thinking like the company themselves. And if they were going to send somebody out there to find you, what would they actually be searching for? Sumter, South Carolina, HR specialists, any kind of keywords that you can think of, like those are the things you need to be thinking about to reverse engineer that when you're setting your profile up so that you can have the best success rate. And it's a lot of times it's trial and error, right? Like you can do some research on it and marketing and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times it's really just trial and error and seeing what sticks and what doesn't, what works and what doesn't. So.
Yeah, and fill out your about section. Your about section, like the first 3 sentences are prime real estate, because a lot of people will have those, will have LinkedIn sort of like in read mode, like Microsoft read mode, where you only see a little bit of it. And make the first 3 sentences like what you can do for a company if you're in job search mode, And I always use my experience because Marissa, the recruiter, shared with me, like it was super easy to find you because you had your location all set up. You had in your headline, what it is that you want to do. And she's like, and I knew immediately after reading, like the first paragraph of your about section that you would probably be someone, that would be a good fit for this position. And after we talked, and I loved it because when we had an informational interview, she asked me about stuff that was in my about section. And I just thought that was so cool, like good props to her. She was being an attentive recruiter, and then she also asked me stuff that based on post and based on engagement and based on comments, she asked me about like conflict management because I had just done a post about that. So, depending on what your purpose is, will really determine how you set up your LinkedIn profile. You don't need to pay anyone to do that. It's just trial and error, but be yourself and make sure that you're not using, keywords or a whole bunch of like complicated phrases just to get sourced. You want to be yourself, but there are a few hacks that you can utilize. Jessica Hernandez, she's on LinkedIn as well. Great Resumes, that's her company. So Jessica Hernandez, Great Resumes. She's fantastic when it comes to LinkedIn. So I love her. She's one that I, ring the bell on all the time. Like I get her, her posts in my feed. If you're looking for a job, she's one to follow.
That's the one right here.
There she is. She's great. Every Sunday she puts out a post that she's praying for all of us. And then her content, Monday through Saturday is just actionable things, for free. Of course, she is a businesswoman and she writes executive resumes and she has a great LinkedIn course. But she has lots of free resources out there. If you go right to her website and go to her blog, you can categorize the info that you want. So I always put LinkedIn and I get tons and tons of information. She is fantastic.
Now, Misty, where do the keywords go? Is it like throughout your profile or in the About Me? Or is there a place where we specifically put keywords in there for recruiters to find us?
Yeah, definitely focus on your headline, but then also throughout your experience, which is like your LinkedIn resume and then your About section. Because you just have to remember if another good tool too, like go to LinkedIn Help and then put in search and it will come up with tons and tons of, articles about how to utilize the search functions. And just like what John said, reverse engineer it because that is what recruiters are using.
Okay.
So the search button is awesome because I go in there and I'm just going to tell a secret, but I go in there and even today, I was looking for a Sunday post, kind of inspiration. So I go into search and I put Sunday tips. So you can go right there, Sunday tips. And then information will come up and then I went to post. So you can click on the category post, up.
Yep. I already did.
Yep.
Oh,
and then go to posts. And now you're going to go to the timeline. So it says date posted. And then I put, the last 24 hours. And so then it came up with posts for Sunday tips or something like that, right? That's what recruiters can do. So think about that information. And that's how I do it to find people as well. So lots of different things that you can do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn Help might be a really good, there it goes. I love that little ducky one. But it's not rocket science. So, I preached again, like I have a battle rhythm every morning, that I've had this battle rhythm before I joined the military. I can remember, being in 4th grade and getting up in the morning and going to my desk and doing certain things. So every morning I have a routine or a battle rhythm, and that's where I ingest information, right? So, you can go to LinkedIn Help and ingest that information depending on what you're trying to do. So, but I guarantee you don't need to hire a resume writer. Absolutely not. You don't need to hire someone to optimize your LinkedIn profile. You can do it yourself, but it does take some work and it'll be trial and error. And if you ever, please reach out to me. If you ever want me to do like a LinkedIn review, which I do, and I'll just be honest, like I do LinkedIn audits, but I put 10 minutes on the clock because I'll do it for free, 10 minutes on the clock, and I'll just audit your LinkedIn based on my HR experience. And again, it's just based on me, what I think maybe you can change or whatever. If you want me to do the same thing for your resume, I won't be able to do like a super in-depth review of your resume, but I could put 10 minutes on the clock and give you some things to work on. So just reach out to me, and I have a link in my headline that allows you to schedule time with me. And so please utilize that and get on my calendar and we'll go from there. but I'm here to help. So whatever help you need, if I have the time, I will, invest it in you.
Excellent. For one, John, thank you for not pulling up my LinkedIn after you pulled up Misty's, because mine, compared to hers, mine is a mess. So I appreciate you doing that, man.
Don't do that. Yours is the best that you can do right now at your level of consciousness from what you know, right? And now you'll learn and you'll just go and you'll tweak it. But for what you want to do, it might be the best for what you want to do now. And that's what we as veterans have to realize, it's like your LinkedIn profile doesn't suck. Your resume doesn't suck. You have to ask yourself, is it effective or is it ineffective? If it's ineffective based on your goals, then you need to work and fix it. And you just, it's like data analysis, just continue to analyze, but be mindful too. Like, just because people aren't reaching out doesn't mean that you need to change it. It's like change management. You got to give it some time, right? You got to stick with it, because the more you change, I don't know, there's a lot of schools of thought on this, but just, I use the first Monday of every month is when I tweak my resume. I go into my LinkedIn profile and tweak anything that I need to tweak based on if I did like a new project or a new podcast. So like the first Monday of April, I'll put this podcast into my like portfolio on LinkedIn. Not sure if you guys know that you guys have that option, but you have projects or a portfolio, and so, but I won't do it right away. I'll do it the first Monday of the month, do that for your resume, do that for, any other profile that you have, and just take it one day at a time. I mean, it is hard being a human. Do you guys agree with that? It's hard being a human nowadays. We have a lot of things going on in the world, right? And it's especially hard to be a veteran because, unfortunately, sometimes we do have a little bit of physical and mental baggage, but that is not an excuse. It's a reason. And you have to view it that way. It's a reason as to why you do what you do. It's a reason as to why I don't let anyone walk behind me. It's a reason why I don't prefer fireworks. You know what I mean? But it's not an excuse, Instead, I'm going to make sure that I'm ahead of people or I'm behind people or whatever, right? Instead, I just don't go to firework events, But you have to have a reason as to why you get up every day, and your best may not be good enough every day, but whatever you have to give, if you only have 20% to give that day and you gave 20%, then guess what? You're actually batting 100. And so just as a veteran, just kind of extend yourself some grace and cut yourself some slack. And you're just doing the best that you can with what you have. And every day is going to look a little different. But don't compare yourself to others. Just do what you can, to continuously improve. Okay, Victor? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, that's the first time you thought you'd say yes, ma'am to an airman, huh? Had to do it. No.
Got him.
No, it's love. It's love, because I see veterans all the time get down on yourself. Like, how is that working for you? Again, not everyone is physically and mentally capable, but it's living in a place where you're the victim or nothing's going right or whatever it may be. Like, is that actually working? It's not. So what can you do with what you have? That's it. What can I do with what I have today? So.
Yeah. I think even if you step back away from the veteran sphere and step back just people in general, like you said, like being humaning is not easy to begin with. And if you just get up and just show up, like you already done 90% of the work just by showing up, really, honestly. The rest of it is, again, and it's a matter of individual, like setting up your day for optimizing your day for yourself, right? You can try to read like all the self-help books you want to read and try to ingest all these good tips and tricks and put up these little bullet points on your mirror in the morning. But the only thing it really is going to work for you is the regimen that you put together for yourself, right? Nobody's going to make you do certain, even if you have a personal trainer, like they're not going to make you better. Like you're the one doing the work to make yourself better. They're just there to coach you and help you and give you some tips and pointers. Like you have to do the push-ups, you have to do the sit-ups, you have to do
Yeah.
the running. That's the only way you're going to get better at running and push-ups and sit-ups. And same with job searching and same with LinkedIn. Like you have to spend the 5 or 10 minutes a day on there and figure it out. That's basically what it boils down to. So
take action. That's my main, piece of advice is take action. When someone called me lucky the other day, like, of course I just prayed for them, but I was like, don't you dare discount the effort and the actions that I've taken. No,
Yep.
I've been taking action since, I remember a pivotal point in my military career in 2013 where I hit a personal and professional rock bottom. And I literally was going to unalive myself because of a performance evaluation. And thank the Lord that I was resilient enough to realize, like, that's pretty stupid, Misty. You need to get some help. Like, it's a performance evaluation. Like, you need to get your head on straight. And then 7 years in the making is when I, made the military a part of my life and not my life. I got some hobbies and discovered that I actually can do different things. And I'm not just an airman. Like, I'm an airman, and that's pretty important, but I'm not just an airman. And then I built my community around me, which actually gave me tons and tons of opportunities and continue to give me tons and tons of opportunities now. So 3 basic things that every person can do right now in order to just like what Herb Thompson says on LinkedIn. I'm sure you guys follow him, but own your transition. It's your transition. You need to own it. Nobody owes you anything. As much as it's awesome that we served, absolutely, we're the 1%, but 1% of the nation, I think it's actually 0.78 now, 0.78% of the nation are qualified to serve. So that means we have to do the adjusting. We have to do the adapting. They don't have to adjust and adapt to us. We have to take action. So if you're physically and mentally capable, take action and just do it one day at a time. It's like church up in here.
It is. Preach, Misty.
No, but seriously.
Where's my mic? Oh yeah, it's right here.
So hopefully that's helpful. But if anyone needs any help, please find me on LinkedIn. Schedule some time with me, email me, and I organize my task and my time in a way that works for me. So if I don't get back to you immediately, it's not ghosting. Just give me some time, but I will definitely help you.
Excellent. Now, Misty, where can people find you outside of LinkedIn, or is that your only
That's where I really prefer, because it has all of my contact information there. So you can find my email, my calendar. You can message me. That's one way that I can manage kind of the level of communication that comes into me. And so I even have like an email only for LinkedIn communication. And so it's on my LinkedIn profile. That's just a good way for me to sort of keep abreast of everyone, that contacts me, which I'm super grateful, but it does take some task and time management in order to, to rally it all.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I mean, that gives me some tips as well, because I need to get my stuff organized. I got like 20 emails. I need to just funnel everybody through to either my LinkedIn or, I don't know, just one social media outlet. I got to start canceling out these other social media accounts that I have and just concentrate a little bit more and focus, right?
Yeah.
No, good information all around, Misty. I appreciate it all.
Well, yeah. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate what you guys do. And, we are in the Veterans Are Supported era. So choose a resource, utilize the resource. And then once you've tapped out of that resource, move on. But there's no shortage of, resources out there. So you just have to take action and just take your military transition one day at a time.
Yep. Absolutely. I want to thank you, both of you, actually, for being here today, making this possible, making this a great conversation. I learned a ton of things. I hope that everybody else who's out there listening or watching has learned a ton of things. If you need to reach out, we'll have Misty's information. We actually already have it in the YouTube, but we'll put it out on the other social medias where we post this too. And reach out to her and go get your 10 minutes scheduled of getting flamed.
No.
We probably should have did mine real quick, but no, we'll say that for another day.
Let's do it live on the air right now. No.
I don't
No, we
mind.
won't
If you
do
got
that.
time, you want to do it, we can do it. I'm all up for it.
No,
Let's
I'm
do
not
it.
going to put you out there like that, man.
No, I don't care. No, I'll do it.
No,
I ain't scared.
no,
Uh,
no.
but
Yeah,
yeah, just
anytime. So I'm here helping, doing my best to help veterans along with everybody else that is. So I just feel super blessed to be a part of this community, and just, we are definitely, we're way better off than we ever have been. So if you're separating or retiring now, thank everybody that came before you, because everyone has done some really good work for us. And I'm just blessed that we can kind of live out their legacy, because that's what we're doing, right? When we succeed and thrive, we're living out the legacy of those that died for our freedom, and that really, maybe didn't have a good reception when they came home. So everything that we have now is because of everyone else before us, and that's a really great place to be, and we need to honor that legacy.
That's right.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, Misty, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
John, for sharing with us all the information, and Misty as well. As far as my part, I definitely took a ton of notes and information. I will definitely be reaching out to you, Misty, more on also getting my 10 minutes in, and getting my LinkedIn profile squared away.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you guys stick around and pay attention, I'm sure we're going to sit down if you want to, and do a full regular retiree interview with you, Misty, sometime in the near future, if you've got time still.
Sounds good. Yep.
But for everybody else out there in the internet and on the radio and wherever you're seeing us, watching us, or listening to us, thank you very much for your time and staying with us. You can check us out on all the social media platforms pretty much. And also you can find us on Reads Across America Radio on Wednesday evenings. You'll get the replay of this. Sundays is when we do live, every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, now that I have my time zones figured out, at least for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Victor, for being here with me, being my co-host.
Anytime,
co-hosts. Amazing. And I'll let y'all go and have your Sunday back.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
And